The Einstein-Szilard letter to China. Atomic diplomacy. In July of 1955, Hungarian-American physicist Leo Szilard and German-American physicist Albert Einstein wrote a letter to the Chinese government in the hope of advancing the cause of peace in the world. The letter, known as the Einstein-Szilard letter to China, suggested that the Chinese government should consider the use of atomic energy for peaceful purposes, and should work with the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union to develop a plan to control the use of atomic power. The letter was written at a time of great tension between East and West. The Korean War had just ended and the Cold War had reached its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear arms race, and both countries were expanding their nuclear arsenals. The letter was Szilard and Einstein's attempt to break the cycle of nuclear escalation and to prevent a nuclear war. The Einstein-Szilard letter to China was not the first attempt to bring about peace between East and West. In 1953, the United States and the Soviet Union had signed the Atoms for Peace Agreement, which proposed the joint development of nuclear power for peaceful purposes. The agreement, however, had made little progress, and Szilard and Einstein saw an opportunity in China. The Chinese government had recently been making moves towards a more open foreign policy, and Szilard and Einstein saw this as a potential opening. They reasoned that if the Chinese government could be convinced to join the Atoms for Peace agreement, the other nations involved in the negotiations would be more likely to reach an agreement. The letter was written in a conciliatory tone, and Szilard and Einstein suggested that the Chinese government should consider the use of atomic energy for peaceful purposes. They argued that the use of nuclear power for peaceful purposes could be beneficial for China and the world, and that it would be a way to reduce the risk of nuclear war. The letter was sent to the Chinese government in July of 1955, but it was not made public until July of 1957. It was not known at the time if the Chinese government had even received the letter, let alone if they had read it. However, in June of 1958, the Chinese government announced that they were willing to join the Atoms for Peace negotiations. Whether or not the Einstein-Szilard letter to China played a role in the Chinese government's decision to join the Atoms for Peace negotiations is not known. What is known, however, is that the letter was an important example of atomic diplomacy, and that it was an attempt to promote peace and understanding between East and West. The Einstein-Szilard letter to China is an important document in the history of atomic diplomacy. It was a plea for peace and understanding between East and West, and it was an attempt to reduce the risk of nuclear war. Although the letter did not achieve its intended goal, it serves as a reminder of the importance of diplomacy in times of tension and conflict.